change the way we live.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Be Creative Stamping. I'm going to share with you how to create this fishing basket today. I recently learned that a fishing basket is actually called a creel, C-R-E-E-L. Now this little fishing basket, the flap does open at the top, as well as this little pocket at the bottom. So this fishing basket has tons of steps, but just stick with me and I'll show you how you can create one too. In order to create your fishing basket, you are going to need the fishing basket pattern, and you can find that on my blog. If you're on YouTube right now, under this video, click the words Show More. And in that description, you're going to find the blog link, and you'll be able to download this fishing basket pattern, as well as download a supply list. Once you print your fishing basket pattern, go ahead and fussy cut your pattern out, okay, which is what I have done here. Now, the next thing you're going to want to do is to bring in a sheet of 8.5 inch by 11 inch crumb cake cardstock. And we're going to use the Stampin' Trimmer right here. And we're going to go ahead and just trim our cardstock a little bit. And so we're going to trim it to 8 inches. So let me pull out the extended arm. Here's the 8 inches right here, okay? And so I'm just going to trim off this extra cardstock because we're not going to need it. And then I'm going to rotate my cardstock and cut again at 10 inches. Now, once this is done, you'll be able to lay your pattern right on top, okay, just like this, and you'll be able to trace around your pattern. I like to put in these lines right here, and you can just lightly do this with a pencil. Let me scoot that up a bit. Okay, and then I'm just going to put a few guidelines here, put in these pencil lines here. Okay, so hopefully you can see that. I'm just kind of lightly doing this. You'll see why in just a second. Okay. All right. And then after doing the tracing, I'm actually going to bring back the Stampin' Trimmer. Okay. And at this point, I'll be able to trim off these pencil lines. So right here is my guide, and that's where I want that pencil line to be. And then of course down here I want that pencil line on the groove as well, okay? And I'm just going to trim that off. And by doing this, you don't have to take your scissors and trim it. We're going to do the same thing here to the other side. I'm making sure my pencil line is on the groove as well as this one. And hopefully you can see that okay. Whoops, my paper did slide on me, so let's just give this another try. I'll start up here this time. Okay, and I've trimmed off that area. Now, when we go to do this, we're actually going to trim right up to that line, okay? I'll bring my cutting blade back up, and now we're just going to trim right up, and see that point? That point is landing on that pencil mark, okay? And now I can trim this piece out. And by doing it this way, I can make sure that everything is nice and straight, okay? Now we'll head on over here and do the very same thing, okay? So let me move my trimmer up so that you can see. I'm going to start at that pencil line right there, and I'm going to trim all the way down. And I can now trim this little piece off. Okay. So that's what we have so far. Okay, I'm going to bring my pattern back in, and I could have done this in the beginning. Not sure why I didn't, but I mean, it can be done either way. I'm going to go ahead and I am going to put in these little lines here, okay? All right, I think that's it. So you could have done this in the very beginning. And now I'll bring the trimmer in again. And let's see here. I actually may end up doing this with scissors, but I'll go ahead and get this one cut in, and then I'll get that one cut in. But I think the rest I am going to do with the scissors. All right, and I'll just bring the scissors in here and cut that off. And I'll do the same here. And then I'm going to go over here and cut these out. And you can cut all of it by hand if you want. I was just trying to make mine really straight with the trimmer. Whoops. All right, here we go. And I'm going to cut right on those pencil lines. Okay, now what we're going to do is bring back in the trimmer, and we're going to do some scoring, okay? And this is my scoring blade right up here. It's the lighter colored one. And if we look at the pattern, you'll notice this score line is going right across these flaps, okay? So I want to be sure I do that. And that is about 1 inch, okay? So if you put your paper here on the 1 inch, all right, see that 1 inch there? You'll be scoring in the right place. And I am going to score the entire length of it. Okay, so there's the first score line. And then I'll turn it around, and now I'm going to do the other score line. All right, there we go. And now we're ready to put in these 2 score lines right here. And this is about a 2-inch width, okay? So the measurements are on the pattern as well. All right, and then one more. Okay, and now we have our entire pattern done. Before we begin assembling the fishing basket, there are some cardstock measurements that you need to be aware of. So we're going to be using crumb cake cardstock, and you're going to need 2 of these pieces here. And this is 2 inches by 4 inches. You're also going to need 2 of these 2 pieces, and these measurements are 4 inches by 4 inches, and again 2 of these. Also, you are going to find on the supply list all of these measurements, okay? And when I'm editing the video, I will also try to put them on the screen. But in case I forget, your supply list will have everything it is you need and all the measurements, okay? Once the crumb cake pieces are cut out, you're ready to emboss them using the Basket Weave Dynamic Embossing Folder. Now that word dynamic means this is an extra thick folder to give our paper more dimension. And so as you get ready to emboss these, you want to be sure that, of course, that your paper is straight, but you're going to use the Big Shot platform. You're going to put your embossing folder down with the folded edge going through first, and then one of our cutting pads, and roll that through, okay? And you'll want to do all 4 pieces. And let me show you these 2 pieces right here. When you get ready to emboss them, you're going to put these 2 in here together, side by side, and then close it, and you can emboss these 2 together. This is what all 4 pieces will look like once they're embossed with the basket weave embossing folder. Now we're ready to cut some soft suede cardstock. The first piece is going to be 5 inches by 5 inches. This is going to be the pocket on the front of the fishing basket. You'll also need a strip of soft suede, and this is 1 inch by 11 inches. This is the handle. You'll need another piece of soft suede cardstock, and this piece measures 3 3/8 of an inch, and I'll show you what that looks like, by 4 inches. Then you'll take your cardstock and you'll insert it into your Stampin' trimmer, and you're going to score it at 1 inch. And by the way, this is the 3 3/8 inch side, okay, that goes in the trimmer. And so you're going to score at 1 inch, then just turn it around and score at 1 inch. So you're scoring at 1 inch from each side. This is going to be the flap of the basket. Now the strap is the last piece. And so the strap, and this strap closes the basket. This measures 1 inch by 4 inches. And then you're going to score it at 1 inch and 2 3/8 of an inch. Once your pieces are cut, you're now going to emboss them as well. And you're going to use the Subtles embossing folder. Again, this is one of those extra thick folders to give your paper more dimension. So you're going to be inserting, if I can open it up, you're going to insert each piece of cardstock and emboss it. And I'll show you the layers again. This is the Big Shot platform, and then the folder goes down with the folded edge going through first, and 1 cutting pad. A few more embossing tips. Your strap is certainly longer than this embossing folder, and so what I did was I inserted the strap right up to that edge, and I rolled that through the Big Shot. And once that was done, then I turned it around and I did just the part that had not been embossed at all. So let me show you how that turns out. This is what my embossed piece looks like, and you probably see a little line right there, and that's where it stopped in the folder. So let me just show you again what that looks like. Sometimes this part can be really tricky. So you can see right there, there's a line on my cardstock, and that's where it was. So this part went through the Big Shot like this, and then I turned it around and I embossed the other side that had not been embossed at all. Okay, and then let's see if there are any other tricks. Yes. Okay, so here's the piece we cut and scored. This is the piece that's already embossed. And so this is the 4-inch side. And you want the 4-inch side to go in the embossing folder to the top like that, and then run that through. And by doing that, you've got your lines going vertically instead of horizontally. Okay, and let's look at the strap that goes over this top of the basket and see how I did that. Here's the one that we've cut and scored, and then here's the one that we've embossed. And so again, I put this piece of paper in this way to emboss it. Okay. The next step is sponging, and you're actually going to sponge all the pieces that you have cut out. And so we are going to use soft suede for the crumb cake, and we'll use soft suede ink again for the soft suede cardstock. So we're going to open this up, and there are 2 ways for you to sponge. You can use a sponge dauber, Or you can use one of our regular sponges and just by cutting it and using a smaller piece of the sponge to stamp, okay? So you have two options. And now I'm just going to ink up my sponge just like this. And you are going to just sponge the edges. All right, that's going to give your basket some depth. Okay, and then you're going to also want to sponge the top of the cardstock. Okay, we want to give that basket a look of being well used for fishing. This would be a great Father's Day or a masculine birthday present. And the pocket on the front of the fishing basket, you could put a gift card there. So that would be really cute. All right, and as you can see, this basket weave is now really coming to life with the sponging. And you're going to do all of them like this. Here are all 4 pieces of the crumb cake embossed. So this is what it should look like once you're done sponging. Now we're ready to sponge our soft suede cardstock with the soft suede ink. And you're going to be using the very same technique. You're going to want to sponge your edges all the way around. Again, this is the strap for carrying the fishing basket, the creel, that's what we'll call it. And you're going to do this all the way around. And then you can even do the top, okay? And just kind of gently rub on that to give it a weathered look. Okay, let me show you these sponged pieces. Here's this piece with the score lines. This is the piece that's 3 3/8 by 4 inches. Okay, and then here's that little flap that's going to close the top of the fishing basket. And then this is the strap. So we're really just giving it a weathered look. Now this piece right here is the pocket. Okay, so we'll look at the pocket here, and what we're going to do is we are going to sponge this entire piece as well. And this piece is 5 by 5 inches. As I finish up, I'll just demonstrate how I am sponging the top. Whoops. And you know, we may find later once we put the pocket on the fishing basket, or even once we assemble the pocket, if we want to add more sponging, we can. Okay, so this is not it necessarily. Okay, but I just want to give you an idea of how I'm doing that. And honestly, I like the sponge better than the sponge dauber. I have used both, and I'm liking the sponge a lot better. Now that this piece is done, we're going to go ahead and create the pocket. And again, the pocket goes right here on the fishing basket. This is optional. You don't have to have a pocket on your fishing basket, okay? So just keep that in mind as you're creating your basket. Okay, so I'm going to bring in the envelope punch board to create this pocket. And we're actually using this size right here, 2 by 3.5 inch gift card. That's a gift card envelope. The sheet of paper is 5 by 5 inches, and the score line is at 2 inches, okay? And we're gonna pull this out. This is gonna help us score. And just in case you haven't used the envelope punch board in a while, or if you haven't used one, I'm going to show you quickly how to do it. It says the score line is 2 inches. So we're going to go over here to the 2-inch mark, and we're going to punch. And then we're going to take the scoring tool, and we're going to create this diagonal, okay? And hopefully you can see that. I might be able to zoom in for you a little bit. Now we're going to rotate the cardstock, and when we do, we're going to want this score line on this point, okay? And we're going to punch again. And then we're going to create our second score line, okay? We're going to rotate the paper again, and I'm folding it because that helps me show you where that score line is. And so I'm going to insert it. I'm going to lay that point right on the score line, and I am going to punch, and now I'm creating the third score line, okay? And now we're going to rotate again. And this score line here, I'm going to put right there on that line. Now I'm scoring cardstock, so I can be a little heavy-handed with the scoring tool. Let me go ahead and punch. If you're using designer paper, go lightly because designer paper is thinner than cardstock, okay? All right, so this envelope or pocket in this project, everything is already scored. And so now I'm actually going to take this point. I'm going to insert it here and punch. So I'm punching on the opposite at the other side of the envelope punch board. And now I've got this rounded corner. I'll do the same here. Okay. And we'll have the rounded corner. So see here on this pocket, look at that rounded corner. Okay, and that's why we did that. Okay, we're going to assemble the pocket. I'm going to fold in the sides. And I am going to bring this up. And I actually just want to look at the whole thing folded up. It looks great. Okay, and then what I like to do is add some Tombow glue. Whoops. Right along this edge. All right, a little bit lighter than what I just did. I think my tube has been upside down, and so it just kind of exploded when I opened it. All right, and then we can close this up, okay? Now, if you prefer, you can certainly trim this off before assembling the pocket, okay? And this is a gift card envelope, and so a gift card would fit in here quite nicely. So I'm thinking next time I do this, I'll take my trimmer and just trim, and I can certainly cut it with my paper snips too. Okay. All right. I'm just going to hold this a few minutes until it dries. I'm going to go ahead and bring in the Velcro dots. I'm not sure of the size. I didn't have the original packaging. So they are small, and I would recommend small ones. And this one, it must be 3/4 of an inch. So that's what I would look for at the store. And what I like to do is I peel one off, and then I go ahead and I stick it to the opposite to the other one, because one's fuzzy and one's got the little bristles. And see, those two are now stuck together, and I'll peel that off, and I'm going to put it here at the top. Okay, and then I'll close it. All right, and then when I go to open it, they're separated. Okay, so that worked out really nicely. And at this point, if you feel like your pocket needs more shading, I mean, you can certainly do that at this time. Okay, go ahead and we'll finish up this pocket, and we're going to actually add a button to the bottom. Okay, now I'm using the True Gentleman buttons, and there are 3 different sizes in this assortment. I believe they're 24 in a container, so you're going to get 8 of each one. Okay, and I chose to use the medium size one. Now I'm going to bring in my linen thread, and this is way long. Okay, this doesn't need to be this long. And I'm going to go ahead and thread this through. Okay, and I'll do the other side. And again, my string is way too long. Okay, all right, so I'm going to just, whoops, slide this through. Hang on a second. Slide this through a little bit. All right, there we go. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and do that, trim that, And I'm just going to do that once. And then I'm going to add a glue dot right there. And then I'm going to trim this. Trim it so that you can't see it from the top. Okay. And then I like to put my button with the going horizontally. Okay. All right. And so this envelope is ready for us to put on the fishing basket once we have it assembled. Okay, now comes the fun part. We're going to assemble our fishing basket, okay? So we're actually going to work with the crumb cake pieces that we cut out. We embossed with the embossing folder, and then we sponged, okay? All right, and so we need these two pieces here that are 4 by 4. And what we're going to do is we're going to attach them to the front of the basket and the back of the basket. And this is going to be the front or the back. Okay, so these panels are actually going to be glued here. Okay, so I'm using Tombow glue to do mine. You could probably use tear and tape. You do need a strong adhesive because, you know, it's cardstock and it's thick and we want it to stay together. Okay. All right. So I am just putting some Tombow around here. Now you can put the Tombow here on this panel, or you can put it on the back of the 4 by 4 piece. Okay, either way. All right, so I'm going to attach it, and I want to stay within those lines. All right, and the nice thing about Tombow is I have a few minutes that I can move it around if I need to. Okay. All right. Sometimes, once you put your cardstock in the embossing folder, sometimes it shrinks a little bit. If that happens, and it can happen, I've had it happen to me, be sure that your panel, this is the bottom, be sure the panel is going down to the bottom, okay? If it doesn't reach the top, it's okay, because we're going to cover up that top anyway. All right, so that's the first panel, and I'll go ahead and turn this around. And let me just fold these score lines. And this is the other panel. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and get some more Tombow on here. Again, you can do the panel if you want instead of the base. Okay, so it's up to you. All right, here we go. Okay, and now we're ready to add this. And we're going to put that within those scored areas. Okay. All right. I think that will work. Okay, so you might notice on mine, okay, this one seems a little smaller, probably shrinking from the embossing folder. So hang on a second, and I'm going to show you a couple little tricks for this. Go ahead and make sure that it's filling up the sidelines and the bottom. I don't think mine's gonna reach the top. See that? How the embossing piece did not reach the top of that? But that's okay, because we're gonna hide that anyway with the flap. Okay, so if that happens to you, then this is what you're gonna want to do. Okay, we're now ready to assemble. I know I keep saying that, don't I? This area here, this is the front of the basket, okay? So make sure your good panel piece is on the front. I've got a little smudging there that's a little heavy, but I'm going to cover it up and it's going to be great. Okay, so you're going to fold in, you know, fold all your score lines. What's going to happen is it's going to close up and it is going to look like this when it's done. Okay, now before we do that, you see these flaps? We're working on these two flaps. Okay, these are the ones that are going to show on the outside. So this is where your 2 by 4 inch cardstock comes in. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, I'm going to put glue on the top of it. And then I am going to glue this panel down, okay? And yes, the panel is a little big, and I'm going to show you how to trim that panel. I just found this to be the easiest way for me. I'm sure there is more than one way to do this, but this is, you know, what I decided to do. All right, I'll wipe that glue off. Okay. All right, so I've got that going. All right, it's adhering to this now. Okay. So we're going to let that dry. Let's go over here and do this other flap, okay? So again, we're going to use Tombow. Yes, you can probably use your tear and tape. Snail is not strong enough, okay? You're not going to want to use your snail for this project. All right. And now I'm going to add this panel. It's really starting to come together. It makes it fun when you can see your progress, okay? Okay, so that's the front of the basket. Now let's flip this over. Look how this embossed piece is overlapping that. We're actually going to trim. So you're going to take your paper snips, and you are just going to cut right along that line, okay? And you're going to get rid of that piece. You're not going to need it anymore. All right. There we go. Okay. And now we're going to do the same to the other side. We'll just trim along. Okay, get rid of this piece. All right, and now this is done. Now you're going to notice over here that that's showing, and I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why that happened. I guess if I go back and look at the video, I'll figure it out, okay? All right, but that is the front of your basket. Just make sure it dries really well before the actual assembly. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and add the pocket before I actually assemble the basket. Okay, and again, the pocket can be optional. It'll look just as cute without. Okay, so you just need to decide what you want to do. All right, so we're going to add some Tombow to this as well. I think you could also use tear and tape just fine with this. All right. Okay, and I'm going to flip that over. And you are going to want it towards the bottom, okay? Because you've got to make room for this flap to come over with the latch, okay? And so, yes, you really do want it fairly low. Mine may be too low. I'm not sure. The first fishing basket I made a few weeks ago, so I may have forgotten. Okay, but now we've got our pocket done. And again, give it a few minutes to dry. Okay, I'm actually going to add the Tombow now to this other flap. Okay, and you'll see why once I stand it up and we put it together. And I'm kind of thinking we're going to do both sides at the same time. I can't remember what I did on the original, so we'll see. Hopefully it's not going to be too messy. Okay. All right, so here goes. These flaps are going in. This is going here. Okay. You're going to close that up. Just like that. Okay. And hang on to it. Give it a few minutes to dry. This is still hanging out over here. I'm going to press down to make sure it's sticking. Whoops, you slipped a little bit, so make sure it doesn't slip on you. Okay. All right. And then, of course, we've got to do the other side. And so, again, you're going to do the same thing here. Okay. just like that. Okay, at this point you can also sponge your crumb cake a little more if you need to. You can certainly sponge the sides, okay, and these corners. And remember this little place I have over here, and I'm not sure exactly what happened there. I can also sponge that a little more, okay? It just gives it a nice distressed look, like it's been well loved, okay? All right, so yeah, you can definitely take time and do that. All right, so we're now ready for the flap, which is the top, okay? So this flap here, we're gonna start from the back and work our way over to the front, okay? All right, and the first thing we want to do is we want to round all four corners, and I've already taken time to do the first, and now I'm going to show you how to do the others. I'm using a 1.5 inch circle punch, and I'm just going to insert it from the back, okay, and kind of give it that rounded edge. If you have a corner rounder, by all means use it. I'm going to do that again with the circle punch, just inserting the cardstock from the back, okay, and getting this little rounded edge. And I have one more to do, okay, so we'll get this one done, just like that, okay. All right, and then of course you're going to fold those score lines, all right. And then we're going to put the tombow on this, and we're going to attach it from the back of the basket, not the front, okay? So let's just get some tombow. You want to go up to the score line. You don't want glue in the middle, okay? Don't do that. All right, so we'll get this done. And now we'll just lay the back of this basket on top. All right, and we're going to bring that up to the score line. And that's going to be hard for me to show you. But hang on one second. There we go. It's right on that score line, okay? And we're going to give it a few minutes to dry. You can even use your bone folder or your fingers to just press this down, okay? There we go. And now we're ready to bring over the top, okay? So there's the top. Let's see, we're going to actually put this little strap on first, okay? And we're going to start again from the back. Now, let's look at this little latch. This is only scored at 1 inch. And this is scored a little longer. This long piece needs to be in the very front, and this can be in the back. So let's just look to see how it's going to fit before we do it. So see how that's going to fit right there? All right, and then we're just going to bring that down, okay? Now, on the front, when we bring it down, let's round these corners as well. So I'm just going to insert it, okay? There we go. And I'm just going to round this little part here. Okay, and just kind of trim it up a little. All right, and then we are going to add glue to these pieces, okay? So let's do that. This is the middle piece I'm putting tombow on now. This is the back. It's shorter. It's about 1 inch. Okay. All right. And then what we're going to do is we're going to just center this. I mean, you can certainly, ooh, that's not the center. I'm eyeing it, and that is not the center. You can also measure if you want. So let's get the ruler and see where we are. 1.5. Okay, so we should be, let's see, this could actually slide over a little more. Wow, I'm surprised by that. So I slide over a little more. Because remember, this is 4 inches. All right, let's see what we got here. Yep, that works perfectly. So if you do want to center it, you're going to measure, and it's going to be at the 1 5/8 mark, okay? Then this is going to lay on top and get glued. Remember that. And that's what I like about Tombow, because I had time to wiggle that in the right place. All right, now remember, this didn't get any glue, okay? And we're going to leave it that way too, all right? So at this point, we are ready for another Velcro dot. Another way to center this, you're going to want your buttons to be in line with each other. So you can always look at the front to get it centered as well. So let's go back over to the Velcro dots. Again, here's one, and I'm going to stick it to the fuzzy one. And then I'm going to peel them both up. Whoops, I took way too many. And then I'm going to stick it inside, okay, inside this little latch. I am going to close it. All right, and then that can close. Okay, and then when you go to pull that up, one should release. It's not doing it right now. Maybe I didn't do that quite enough. Let's see. Okay, all right. So while we're here, let's go ahead and let's get that button on, okay? We're going to do it the very same way. So let me get some linen thread. This is more like it. It's not as long. All right. And we're going to thread that. Okay. And then we'll go ahead and just kind of loop it. We don't need to put a knot. The glue dot's going to take care of the knot. And then we're going to lift up that glue dot and put right there. Okay. And we're going to trim. So we don't want to see the thread from the other side. Excuse my reach there. And as we go to put the button on, make sure it's horizontal again. And of course, you want your buttons to line up, okay, just like that. All right, well, let's go ahead and get the strap on, and we'll be just about done, okay? And with this piece, I am going to take my bone folder, and I am just going to rub it along the back of that cardstock. That just helps it curve, okay? Just like that. All right. Okay, so we've got that. And I'm actually going to add Tombow for this. Now here, you know what? Let's do this first. Let's go ahead and get our buttons on. And these are the larger buttons. So again, linen thread is needed. You will need at least this much, okay? I'm not sure how much this is, but it does need to be longer than the other one. All right, so I'm threading that through. I'm going to do the thread a different way this time. That's going to go back through. Okay. And then let's see. That's got to go back in there. You know what? We're going to do this a different way. Hang tight. Okay, so I'm going to do it just like I did the last one. Okay, so that goes through, and then I'm going to take this edge and I'm going to cross it, and you'll see what I mean. See how I did that? Okay, now you're going to take it again, and you're going to go through the hole that didn't have any thread in it, go through the other hole that has no thread in it. All right, and now you've got that done. It forms an X. Okay, and I may put a knot in this one. I think I will. All right, and now I'm going to trim. And I should probably trim a little more so it doesn't show. And this one's going to need a couple of glue dots. So let's put one on that side. And we'll put one on the opposite side. Okay. And then we are going to add it right here. Okay. All right. There we go. And I did forget to curve these little edges. So, hey, let's just do it right this second, okay? And I'm just going to wing this. All right. It'll be too hard, I think, to put it through the circle punch now because the button is there. All right. And so you're going to center it like that, and you're going to want to do the same thing to this side. You're ready to attach the straps, okay? And now you're going to see why it's so important to have the buttons on first. It's going to help you with your spacing, okay? So let's see here. Let's just go ahead and we're going to put the Tombow right along here, okay? And then I'm going to attach it about right there. All right, so see how the button fits nicely right along here. All right, and that helps with your spacing. Okay, now we'll come on over and do the other side. Again, I'm putting the Tombow along here. Whoops, you fell off. So definitely give it a few minutes to dry. I'm getting to the end here and getting a little rushed, but make sure that you do give it time to dry. And then you're going to do the very same thing to this side right here and give it time to dry. Now it's time to embellish our fishing basket. So we're going to add this fishing lure to the basket handle, okay? So the first thing we'll do is let's go ahead and do these fishing hooks, and we're going to do that with some scrap paper. This is Sahara sand, and it only takes a very small piece to do this. You are going to want to emboss 2 of these. So you will need Versamark, and of course you're going to need the stamped image. And so we're going to ink it in Versamark, and we're going to stamp it on the cardstock. It's going to be really hard for you to see because it's Versamark. Okay, and now I'm going to bring in my tray and white embossing powder. Okay, and I'm just going to pour this powder on top of the fishing hook. All right. And now I am just going to tap it. Okay. We don't have to worry about the embossing powder really getting on the paper because we will be cutting this out with the Big Shot. It's time to heat the fishing hooks. And we're going to heat both of them. This is called embossing. And it is going to take a few minutes. The heating tool was cold, and so it'll take a little bit longer just to get it started. And you're going to see that it's going to come to life. Okay, I've taken the time to get the fishing hooks cut out, and it happens to be this Thinlit right here that cut them out. You're going to also notice some other Thinlits we're going to use today, and that's both of these fish right here. And they're actually being cut out in crumb cake. Okay, we're going to bring in some ribbon to help create this lure that we're making. This is Grapefruit Grove, Pineapple Punch, and Lovely Lipstick. And it's the 1/8 of an inch grosgrain ribbon, okay? And these are in colors. And so I'm not sure how much I've cut here, probably close to 8 inches. And we may not use all of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the ribbon, and I'm cutting the edge off, okay? And I'm not sure if I'm gonna have to cut all the way down the edge or not. But what I want to do is I want to fray this ribbon, okay? And yes, I am going to cut all the way down that edge. Okay, so this is what I ended up doing. I cut up to that point, and now this is what I've been able to pull out, okay? So with the other colors, I think it's going to be enough. So let me go ahead. I'm going to cut this. It's been a while since I made the first one, so hang tight. I'm going to kind of show you how I did this. I am trimming off this edge. Okay, so I did that, and now I'm going to start pulling it apart. Okay, just like this, and I hope you can see what I'm doing. See that? See how that's coming apart? Just like that, and we're going to add that. And now the last one we're going to do is going to be the pineapple punch. So as you can see, I really do not need a lot of ribbon. Again, I'm cutting. It's just hard to hang on to this ribbon while you're cutting the edge off. And then to pull it. So it takes some patience to do this, but it is a really neat look. And I wanted you to know how to do this. Okay, great. So this is coming along. And see, it stopped because I didn't finish trimming that edge. So let me see if I can go back and do that. It's just hard to do. Okay, I think I've got it. Okay, I'm just going to cut that off there. And I'm just trying to pull this. Almost there. I am getting there. And it would probably help if my nails weren't so long either. Okay, and I am just going to trim it right there. Okay, and so now you can see that I have got enough ribbon here to start creating the lure. I'm going to use some gold twine. This was probably in one of my Christmas card kits. So whatever twine you have on hand, whatever it is that you want to use to hold this ribbon together, okay? I'm going to use a glue dot. And again, there may be an easier way to do this. I have not looked on YouTube, so I don't know. But I've taken that glue dot and I've attached it to the twine, and now I'm kind of laying it on the ribbon. And then what I'm going to start doing is I am going to start rolling this around. All right, as you can see, I finally did get it started. I'm wrapping it around. I'm just going to use the rest of this twine that's on here, and then I'll trim this a little bit. I'm going to add a glue dot, and we're going to wrap this around, and we're going to hope that it holds. I hope you've been able to see this. Here we go. Okay, so I think now we've got that done. Okay, and at this point, let's take one of our hooks. Let's add a glue dot. And let's kind of stick that hook behind that, okay? All right, there we go. Okay, and now at this point, let's just add this to the fishing basket. And I'm going to add it right over here, like that, with that glue dot. Okay, the more I mess with this, the more I lose little pieces of this ribbon. Okay, and now at this point I can add the other fishing hook. And I'm still adding it to the flap. Okay, and we can do that. And then that is going to cover that up, okay? If you want two fishing hooks, I mean, you certainly don't have to have it, okay? And then at this point, you can even add fish, all right? But I will show you, I cut the fish out in crumb cake cardstock. I inked it up using this stamp, and this stamp is from the Best Catch stamp set. I inked that in soft suede, and then that's when I added the old olive twine. Okay, so let me see if I can recreate this for you. All right, so that's going through the eye of the fish like that. Okay. And then I'm just going to put a little knot in there like that. Okay. And then I'm going to add the other fish. See if I can do that. This definitely takes patience. So you may decide that you don't want it on your fishing basket. Okay, finally got it through. Okay, so as you can see, then the fish aren't at the same level. Okay, I'm just going to put another knot here. I probably could have made this longer, and I didn't. So hang on. This has probably been one of my tougher projects that I have created. So, but I hope you'll give it a try. And I'd love to see pictures of your baskets too. All right, so you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take these fish off. And I'm going to take this. I'm just going to let it hang right there. Okay. And then there's my fish right there, and it's just kind of hanging up there on that. Okay, so that's another option for you, or you know, you certainly don't even have to have the lure, but gosh, it makes it super cute, doesn't it? Be sure to visit my blog. You'll be able to download the fishing basket pattern. You'll be able to download a supply list with complete measurements. So I have everything right there for you. If you're not currently working with a demonstrator, I would love to be your demonstrator and creative coach. And you can find me, find my online store at this URL address right here. And if you're placing an order, use this hostess code for the month of April 2019. And of course, if you have any questions, please email me and let me know what they are. And I'm certainly happy to help you with that. So I hope you enjoyed today's project. I'd love to hear some comments. That would be wonderful. And thanks so much for buzzing by.
At a time can really change the way we live. Focused on the sharing and the chance we have to